Right, hello my YouTube lovelies, and this vlog is a slightly off the cuff one, but nonetheless it might be interesting to you, and I didn't really think ever about doing or talking about this sort of stuff, but obviously in the present climate with COVID-19 etc, I suppose it brought to light a little bit in terms of, you know, how van lifers live their lives and how we do stuff slightly out of the ordinary, I suppose. And you know, there's other channels that have touched on this recently, and I think to some extent maybe there is a little bit of a prepper mentality to van lifers, and I don't think that really stems from the fact that we think there's going to be a zombie apocalypse or something like that. I think it's just due to the fact that we tend to wild camp quite a lot as van lifers, and we tend to find ourselves off the beaten track, and maybe what we do is we try to be somewhat self-sufficient, and if that means having things like an axe etc, a wood burner, all of the things that enable us to live off grid in nature. And a byproduct of that is provisioning, and how we provision, and the sort of things that we would carry in our van in order to keep us sustained for an indefinite amount of time. Now when I shop for the van, I tend to eat fresh most days, because my van life revolves around a full-time job, so I will rotate my parking places etc, so I'm never too far from a shop or a garage etc, so my eating habits tend to be eating something that's fairly fresh. However, I've always got provisions in the van, and the point of that is, I suppose, is because really what I want to do is have things that are in the van so that I can just literally go at the drop of a hat. If I find that I have a day or a couple of days spare, or a week to go away, I can just get in the van and go, and I don't have to spend a huge amount of time prepping and getting things ready. Everything I need is there, and I just have to put fuel in and off I go. Not to say that I don't get a few bits. I normally do. I might, if I know that I'm going away for a weekend, I might get a few little treats. I might get a couple of bottles of beer or whatever, maybe some bread, some fresh bits and pieces, some salad pieces and stuff like that. But for the most part, what I have in the pantry, so to speak, tends to be dry goods and stuff, tin food and things like that. Now, the reason why this subject obviously has come to light now is because a little while ago, maybe, what was it, I don't know, 5 days ago, I had to do a shop. I knew I was coming away to Wales for a week, so I just needed to replenish a few bits and pieces in my cupboards. But to be honest with you, this sort of shop I tend to do sort of, I don't know, maybe every, I don't know, 4 months, I don't know, 3 months, I really don't know. It's not often. And quite honestly, when the cupboard is full, a lot of what I have tends to be stuff that I would use during the daytime at work anyway, so I may grab a pack of noodles or a pot noodle or whatever, and I'll bring it with me to work, and so it's lunch. So the stuff that I have is not solely for the use of when I'm out and about in the van. It's for everyday use basically. But the other night I went to Tesco's. Fortunately it was late at night. I tend to always do my shopping late at night anyway because there's less people. I filled up with diesel and I went across to the supermarket and saw at first hand, you know, the empty shelves, yeah, it was quite unnerving to see a shop like that. And to be honest with you, I go at night time anyway when they're replenishing the shelves, so quite often the shelves do look a little bit empty when I go, but to see it to this extent was sort of yeah, it was a bit of what's the expression I'm looking for? A head turner. I don't think that's the one, but anyway, you know what I mean. Anyway, I went round filling my basket with pieces that I needed for my van, water, etc. And as I went to the till, it was a self-service till, I said to the woman there, I said, it's weird, but I actually feel somewhat I don't know, embarrassed and kind of paranoid, because if anyone else happened to look at my basket at that time, they'd be thinking, oh, here we go, it's one of those stupid idiots that is just ramming their basket full of unnecessary items and things like that. But the truth is that I said to the woman, I says, you know, I live in a van and this is how I eat and this is the stuff that I do. So it was odd because now I am doing what is a basic thing for me. Suddenly I'm kind of put in this weird scenario where I feel embarrassed by my actions and somewhat ashamed of what I'm doing, which is ridiculous because compared to what the idiots have been doing recently, I'm nowhere near that. But it's awful, isn't it, that you suddenly find yourself in a situation where, for us van lifers, this is a regular thing that we do and have been doing this for however long, and now suddenly we're kind of almost made to feel guilty for doing our, I don't know, our everyday chore, so to speak. Anyway, I loaded all my bits and pieces, and lo and behold, there was a man behind me with a trolley full of spaghetti. I mean, like a shit load of spaghetti as well. And the woman stopped him and said, look, you can't take that and stuff like that. And then anyway, there was an argument that ensued, etc. And the security guard came along. But it was weird to see at first hand. You know, I went down the toilet roll aisle. I really did need toilet roll and there wasn't a roll to be found, so I had to make do with something else. And to be honest with you, I tend to use kitchen roll anyway because it's stronger and tougher, and yeah, so it wasn't so much of an issue. But you know, there were many things that I would have liked to have got but wasn't able to, so I had to sort of improvise and get something else. So anyway, I'm rambling now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to empty my cupboard or cupboards, and I'm going to show you my van at the moment in terms of food supplies, etc., is fully stocked. So I'm going to turf everything out, and somehow I'm going to get it here on the kitchen unit and pull the table out, etc. The GoPro is going up there, so maybe that might get a wider idea of what's going on. I will probably pause you and take everything out of the cupboards, put it on there, and then I'll pick you up again, give you a rundown of what there is and stuff like that, and then close the video. How's that sound? Alright? So hold fire. Pause. Right then, here we go. So everything is out of the cupboards. Okay, so I'm gonna pan you over this stuff and give you an idea of what there is. So starting from left all the way over to the right hand side, and then bits and pieces on the table. So there you go, that's my food supplies, and the only thing that you can't see here is 6 bottles, you know, the what are they, litre and a half or 2 litre bottles of water, and those sit in the cab. And then there's what I put in my little cool box area, which tends to be eggs, butter, fresh bread, and anything like tomatoes, mushrooms, etc. So anything that is fresh that I'm going to cook sort of within the next 2 to 3 days will just go in there. But this is what I guess would be my dry store. I don't know how best to describe it. And I don't know, there's probably, you know, this hasn't been bought all in one go. There's probably stuff that I've had here from, you know, maybe a best part of a year ago, to be honest with you, because there's some baked beans there that I've not touched for a long time, and yeah, some other noodles, etc. So this is stuff that I'll just kind of every now and then I'll just go and I'll buy a few packs of this or some tins of tuna, or etc, etc. And I don't know, if I was to hazard a guess as to how long or how many days supplies this would be, it's a tough one. I'd say there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's probably 13 meals worth of tuna and sauces, etc, and things like that, with pasta. Yeah, so that's probably 2 weeks worth of meals just in pasta dishes. Then a pack of noodles, and these are only small packs of noodles that I've got here, so let's say one of those, let's say 2 of those, a pack of noodles as another meal. Some baked beans, some ravioli, etc. Dessert wise, I've got peaches and ambrosia rice pudding. I love rice pudding, with a bit of jam. Oh god. And then there's things like noodles, your sort of pot noodle types and other manufacturers. Little cup of soups for a little quick one. And then I've always got things like little brunch bars and stuff. I've got these what I call my goodie boxes, so if I'm ever out and I'm hiking or whatever, I've got things that I can just chuck into the back of my rucksack, so I've got snacks and things and pieces like that, so that I can go out for a walk and not have to worry about food. Excuse the noise, by the way, because I'm on top of a mountain and it is windy as fuck. So I'm actually going to take that off to stop the racket. So, but anyway, you know, hopefully this gives you a sort of a snapshot and an insight into what it is that I have in the van. And, you know, this is stuff that will keep me probably going for 3-4 weeks without me needing to go to a shop. Now obviously I do go to a shop if I want to get something fresh, and I would probably have to go more regularly to get water, because the 6 bottles of water wouldn't last me that long. But nonetheless, I hope this kind of gives you a sort of a peek into the things that kind of van lifers, and I'm not saying I'm the perfect example. You know, others might have less of this, others might have a lot more, who knows. A lot of it comes down to storage, and I suppose ultimately you may have the storage, but then the issue is then with weight, and I'm always struggling on the weight side with the van, and having to sort of be careful because I'm very, very close to the limit a lot of the time. But nonetheless, you know, this is not hoarding. This is keeping provisions which are used on a semi-regular basis, and stuff that will keep me going and will enable me to live off grid and not have to be a burden, have to go to a shop or what have not, and I can live off grid for a good 2 or 3 weeks if I wanted to. This is how we live our lives. We don't hoard, and I think hoarding and van life are two polar opposites, because we can't, mainly because there's no space to. But anyway, you know, embarrassment aside, hopefully, you know, if anyone was to see me in the shop and saw me doing this sort of stuff, and by the way, everything that I've got here I didn't get in one go. This is probably 3 to 4 shops worth over a year or something, you know, and I've just had to sort of supplement it as I go along. But you know, hopefully this will give you an insight, and those that are out there ransacking the stores and depleting all of the necessities for selfish reasons, you know, have a word with yourselves. You know, I think all those people that have bought all the toilet rolls, you know what they should do? I think the government should turn around and say, right, if you've got over 20 rolls of toilet paper in your house and there's only 1 of you in there, or 2 of you, what you should do is take those toilet rolls round to an elderly neighbour and leave them on the doorstep for free, or take them back to the supermarkets and give them back to them for free, okay? Because what you've done is completely selfish, and you need to, you know, sit down and have a word with yourself. So anyway, I'll end this now. I don't want to get onto a rant, because otherwise I'll turn into the Incredible Hulk. So I'll see you in the next vlog. Cheers.